Welcome to China, People and Their Environment, Section 3. First heading, as always, you can see the growing demand for electricity as China modernized. Unfortunately, you can also see that the vast majority of the fuels to drive this electricity is fossil fuels. Hydroelectric is growing, as well as nuclear energy, right now very small, but projected to grow rapidly.
Could this be a vision of our future? This is what it's like living in the worst air pollution in the world. Cities growing unchecked, filthy air, the silent effect of climate change. Is this toxic cocktail pushing our civilization to its limits?
It's morning in Ulaanbaatar and people are going to work, getting ready to go to school, and I can smell the pollution. It's so thick, you can even taste it. I've got a pollution monitor here and it's measuring PM 2.5, which is these tiny particles that get deep into your lungs. That's why they're so dangerous. And a minute ago, it was at 999. That's as high as this monitor will go. Safe levels are supposedly anything under 25. So how on earth did it get this bad? This grassland should be completely covered in snow, and the snow actually protects the grass. Right now, these animals are just chewing up everything they can, and people are worried that by the time spring comes, all the grass will be gone. And that's because the climate here is changing in weird and unpredictable ways.
Climate scientists say Mongolia has already warmed by 2.2 degrees. The fact that it's landlocked and its high altitude mean it's much more vulnerable to temperature changes. Half the population of Mongolia now live here in the capital, and most of them are burning raw coal. It's the cheapest way to keep warm when temperatures get as low as -25. But it's choking the city and hurting its smallest residents. Every day here, doctors see hundreds of children who are struggling to breathe. Toxic air could lead to an epidemic of lung cancer. This kind of pollution could become the disturbing norm.
And that is, of course, connected directly to human impact. Historically, China chose to isolate itself until Mao took over, which we discussed. At that point, Hong Kong is pretty much their only outside contact. After Tiananmen Square, there was the deal. We will open up the economy and you will stop protesting. Their balance of power. They have the world's largest army in the world, and they also have nuclear weapons. Flooding, we talked about the degradation of their dams. The floods were built to deal with them. They are now failing. The Three Gorges Dam was built to solve this issue. This is in your book. If you click on it, it's interactive and there are 3D shots of the cities. How do we address these issues?
Well, welcome to Shijiazhuang, a city a little less than 300 kilometers from Beijing, and one that over the past month has had the rather unenviable honor of being China's most polluted. In fact, by some measures, it is the most polluted city on the planet over that period. Of course, it is just an extreme example of a problem affecting a huge swathe of northern China at the moment, with a pollution cloud hanging over this country from the Russian border in the far northeast all the way down to the central cities of Chongqing and Chengdu.
So how do we get rid of our waste? Rates of cancer. You can see the United States actually is in the top tier of cancer. China's lower, but it is the types of cancer makes the difference. The United States, the number one most common cancer is breast cancer. The next is lung and prostate. In China, it's lung, stomach, liver. It's dealing with the pollution. So how do we address these issues? Lumbering, modernization has created a huge demand. Reforestation is not keeping up with the demand. Those are floods. The consequences have included thousands of deaths, destruction of property, damage to landscape. It's led to them planting trees, but again, they are not able to keep up. Desertification has worsened to storms in China and Mongolia. Traditional medicine from exotic animals. That's a rhino that's had his horn cut off and ground up. It has had a very negative effect on exotic and endangered species. Protected forests. They've recently set aside protected forests. A surviving population of Siberian tigers in the far northeast, so that forest is protected. But their Grain for Green program, it is the world's largest reforestation effort, which it's substantial, 69.2 million acres. But the program overwhelmingly leads to the planting of monoculture, which we've talked about before. They're planting forests that are strictly eucalyptus, or Japanese cedar, or bamboo. That falls short of restoring the biodiversity of these native forests and can even actually harm existing wildlife.